Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Burn News and Views. I'm Shay Dawn Burgess. I'll be your host for the next few minutes. So many have called nurses angels of mercy, and we have one with us right now on this edition of Burn News and Views. She is the 2025 winner, Nurse of the Year. And of course, I'm talking of Mrs. Christine Bogle-Mienzer. First, want to congratulate you in winning this prestigious title, Nurse of the Year. Take us to where you were when you found out you had won.
So every year, the Bermuda Nurses Association have a host of celebration to honor Nurses Month. As you know, May is Nurses Month
Right.
internationally. May the 12th is International Nurses Day. So on May the 4th, they had a gala at the Four Ways restaurant.
Yes.
And initially, I was not going to go because I had a number of things to do. But I was encouraged to attend by my colleagues, and I did. So I was actually at the gala when the Nurse of the Year nominees were mentioned. And initially, I wasn't surprised because I've been nominated about 6 times for
Oh,
the Nurse
wow.
of the Year award. However, when they said the recipient for this year, 2025 Nurse of the Year, is none other than Christine Bogle-Mienzer, I was in awe.
I can imagine. Oh, wow. That took you by surprise, huh?
It certainly did. And because among the other nominees that were mentioned were still Marie Otterbridge, who has a number of years, over 20 plus years of nursing, and Mrs. Lovey Lavelle, who also has over 50 years of nursing. So among us, it was over a century of nursing experience in the room. And
Okay.
so certainly I was in awe.
And how
But
long have you been a nurse?
I've been a nurse for 22 years.
All right. So have you always wanted to be a nurse?
So I knew from a very early age that nursing was my calling. It is a ministry for me. I knew as a little girl in church that I was ordained to be a nurse.
Okay.
My calling was among the elderly, the mature, as I affectionately call them. And I knew from just a little girl in church that that was my calling.
All right. And so when you were a little girl, you used to play nurse and doctor or
I
just,
used to. So I was grown seventh day, used to wait on the elderly at church, assist them wherever necessary. I was a Sabbath school teacher, but pediatric is not my first love. My first love is definitely gerontology.
okay.
And so I assisted all the elderly, even up till university days. I was there doing community service for my church, for my community, with the elderly. So I've always been, have a passion for the elderly.
All right. Now I note an accent. Where exactly are you from?
I am from Jamaica,
Oh, Jamaica. What part?
St. Andrew,
St. Andrew. Okay, that's close to Kingston, correct?
outside of Kingston.
Right.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
All right. So what is the criteria for winning this prestigious award?
So the nomination is usually so just around April, the Bermuda Nurses Association sends out a reminder to nurses to submit an article on our colleague who emulates excellence in clinical services, in nursing leadership, in community involvement, in advocacy, in mentorship, someone who role models Florence Nightingale and
Right.
those of our many prestigious nursing colleagues who have gone on before, um, who live the values of who a nurse is.
Right. And of course, to that one individual that does not know who Florence Nightingale is, she would be the epitome of nurses, you would say?
Definitely the lady with the lamp, the one
Mhm.
who certainly paved the way for us today. So nursing could be recognized as a profession,
Right.
a skill and an art.
So where did you attend university? UE?
So I went to University of the West Indies. That's where
Okay.
I undertook. And then I went to the Ministry of Health and the Kingston School of Nursing, care of the critical ill. So I'm also a critical care or an ICU nurse. And shortly after that, I went into corporate medicals, working into the medical field, promoting medical supplies for 3M International. And
Okay.
then I came back in, well, I did both because that's one thing with nursing. It's multifaceted. So you could do corporate, you could be bedside, you could be in education, you could be in the community. So I did both, the corporate and the bedside. And then I came to Bermuda.
Okay. And so what stood out about your program? You did mention UE, which we know as University of West Indies.
Yes.
What was like the big thing that you said, let me go to UE to get my degree?
So I applied to Northern Caribbean University, which was then called West Indies College.
Okay.
I was a successful applicant, but I would have to board, and my parents said, you're gonna stay closer to home. So even though I did board on campus, it was quite a narrow journey for them, and so that was their choice. And so I went along with an established nursing education at the University of the West Indies.
Right.
And that's where I found a great fraternity of nurses with
Okay.
some eloquent nursing educators.
So what do you like most about nursing? You've been in it for over 20 years. What is the big thing about nursing that just does it for you?
So I like to see the journey of my patients when walking alongside them in their most vulnerable state and
Right.
see them move from a state of illness to wellness. I've been able to foster relationships with my parents and their family, and I'm also in a different scope now as an adjunct faculty for the Bermuda College, where I'm able to give back to my nursing profession and really invest in the future of our profession. And so for me, it's seeing our student graduates, student nurses graduate and take their rightful place in society as a wonderful, efficient nurse.
So I like what you said about you see your patients in their vulnerable position. And that is exactly, I thought back to when I was in the hospital and you're just like so out of it and you have to have somebody to really lean on.
Yes,
And, people are saying, oh, they don't really do much. No, you guys really, really do a lot because we're not in our frame of mind. We're not the sophisticated individuals, maybe outside of that. And so we're really depending on you guys to take us from where we're at to being upright and walking and talking and all that good stuff. So you really guys, you do deserve everything that comes your way. I really do appreciate what you guys have done for me personally, and I've seen what you've done for members of my family, especially the elderly,
yes.
just to make them feel like they're part of our community. Yeah.
Yes, and they are. They're integral parts of our community. Many of them, we are reaping their foundation. They've
Right.
paved the way for us. And so it's good to give back. It's comforting to walk alongside family and the patients, to advocate for our patients, to mentor a student, to see persons back to some normalcy.
No, I agree with you. Yeah. So you talked about being an adjunct professor at the Bermuda College.
Yes.
And so, what advice would you give to our young people who are considering a profession in nursing?
Nursing is a noble profession. It's very rewarding. Never forget your why. Why did you come into this profession?
Right. So true.
That will give you the impetus you need to push beyond because it's also a profession that takes a lot from you. And so striving to have a work-life balance will be important. Find a mentor, find someone who you emulate, who could speak to you about the behind the scenes things that happen, who could also guide you along the way in your profession. And never lose the passion that you entered into the profession with.
Yeah, and I certainly hear it in your voice some 22 years later. So I guess that's why you became Nurse of the Year. I hear the passion and the compassion in your voice. I've never met you before, but I certainly hear it in your voice. So would you say there are any challenging aspects of nursing?
Yes, nursing has it's emotionally labor. It does, and I'm never afraid to be vulnerable with my patients. You know, I often say to people, lead with kindness and compassion. That's my personal mantra, and
Right.
it's because everybody is going through something. And I think sometimes, especially those who are in service industry, the public or external customers would believe that, forget that, at the core of it, the heart of it, you are human. And
That's true.
so
Yeah.
sometimes working long hours, sometimes sacrificing even, your break time or lunch time to make sure that your patient is safe. And you may have a critically ill patient that time, at that day, that it becomes your priority. But at the core, we're human. And your nurse too may be going through something. And so I think that if we do leads reciprocally and to remember that it pays to be kind,
Yes.
right? Then I think that would make a big difference, both for the patient and both for the nurse. And I
Yeah.
often say to my colleagues, no one wants to see a grumpy nurse,
That's so
right?
true.
No one wants that. And so I think it's important for healthcare practitioners to do self-care, to nurture themselves prior to going to see your clients because you too have your own challenges that you must get beyond,
Exactly.
right? And because we're in a service industry, because we are helping people at their most vulnerable state, you want to be in the best shape possible so you could give only your best. And in order for you to do that, you must find that source, whether it's spiritual, whether it's through grounding or other natural sources such as yoga and mindfulness, or
Right.
listening to a positive podcast. You must find something that will give you that extra oomph or impetus to go forward for your day.
Well, I'm hoping this actual podcast is going to do it for our folks listening in because you're very inspiring. So what makes you unique in nursing? I think you kind of went on that, but let's just close out our interview with that question. What makes you, Christine, so unique, 22 years in the business?
I think it's because not only do I bring the clinical expertise to the table, not only am I a unionist and activist,
Oh, okay.
so yes, I'm also the assistant recording secretary for the Bermuda Public Services Union. So it's many sphere that, a nurse is able to participate in. And it's coming forward with positiveness. It's being open-minded, it's being kind. And there are times when you have to be firm because I'm in leadership as well. So, it's leading fairly, it's maintaining integrity, and it's being compassionate. You
Yes.
can never go wrong in being compassionate.
Well, I hope to one day meet you, but you've certainly inspired me in doing this interview. I do want to thank you for joining us for this edition of Burn News and Views. It is obvious to everyone listening that you are indeed very passionate and compassionate, who's very serious about your profession, that being nursing. I again want to congratulate you on winning this prominent award in our community, Nurse of the Year for 2025. Without a doubt, just from listening to you for these past few minutes, you certainly deserve it. Thank you once again. On behalf of Burn News and Views, I'm Shay Dawn Burgess. Thanks for all that have tuned in. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right, thanks. Bye bye.